Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This is a special one and an unexpected one for me. Interview with Nostradamus. Before we get into it, just want to mention a couple things. First up, Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and the work that we do here, you can certainly help out on Patreon. When you join, you get a chat function, a direct mail to me, and advanced podcasts on Sunday. And if you're interested, there is a link in the description. Next up, astral projection lessons. If you'd like a lesson with me to learn how to astral project or improve your current ability, I'd be glad to work with you. All you have to do is just go to the description section. There's an email there. Just request more information. And lastly, the thanks button that you can see towards the bottom or middle, depending on what kind of device you have. There's a thanks button there. If you feel moved by an episode, you've gotten some wisdom, or maybe you just thought it was funny, or maybe it's better than just mindlessly scrolling on TikTok, you can throw a few bucks my way. Okay, let's get into this. Interview with Nostradamus. I slipped out of my body, uncertain of my goal for this projection. I was mulling over some ideas when the astral currents just pulled me sideways as if someone had grabbed me by my collar. I blacked out, as I always do with long trips. When I regained consciousness, I found myself inside a magical circle for summoning spirits. And I know about this kind of stuff. I experimented when I was in college. Anyway, you use it for summoning spirits and demons, that kind of thing. Around me was a stone chamber lit by flickering torches. A wooden writing desk sat against one wall, covered in parchment, an astrolabe, and what appeared to be an oversized chalice filled with, smoke, shadows, the dreams of medieval bureaucrats. Then a voice spoke from a shadowy corner, and when I looked, I saw, you'll see what I saw. You are late, spirit, said the old white-bearded man. He said the sentence in French. I knew that, but because it was telepathy going on, I could translate the meaning instantly through telepathy. Whenever I find myself in these kinds of situations, especially when there's telepathic information going back and forth, I find that I kind of adjust my way of speaking to the new environment. So that's why you might hear me speaking in a way that's a little bit out of the ordinary for me. Anyway, he said I was late. With respect, great sir, I am never late. I always arrive precisely when I mean to. Apologies to Gandalf for borrowing his witty quip. I turned, and before me there was this old bearded man dressed in black with a similarly colored hat in the flesh. He was very much alive, wearing robes that looked equal parts physician, sorcerer, and mildly exasperated librarian. I attempted to walk over to him when I encountered an unexpected force field that shocked me, quite painfully, I might add. I couldn't leave this wizard's magical circle. Do not attempt to escape my protective charm. No demon or spirit may stray from the environs of the circle. You will only harm yourself in the attempt. I'm not a demon, I explained indignantly. Your hospitality leaves much to be desired, wizard. He smiled thinly. What is your name, spirit, or will you withhold it from me? What you have to realize is that names in magic hold power. And when someone has your name, you better really trust them because you give them a certain amount of power over you, because there's power in words and there's powers certainly in a name. My name is Rick, respected one, I replied. Please now do me the courtesy of offering your name in exchange. He sat down at the table. I was confined in this wizard prison a few meters away from my captor. His eyes had that odd shimmering quality you see in old souls, part sadness, part weariness. He made a severe frown as I sensed him sizing me up. He began, "My name is Michel de Nostradamus. Thank you, Spirit, for coming at my summons." I was standing before the great Nostradamus in the flesh. A wave of excitement came over me like a tidal wave. "Please, sir, it is a great honor to commune with you," I said. "You certainly are most polite for a spirit. From whence have you come to my sanctuary?" "I come from the New World in the year 2025, I responded. "Your fame extends even unto my time." You have to remember that Nostradamus was from the 16th century. Now, they were aware of the New World, but that was about it for the average individual. Nostradamus seemed genuinely pleased suddenly. "Indeed, this is unexpected, though you are not the first to appear before me from such a distant year." I wonder who else appeared before him from the future. "That may be," I replied, "but I'm sure you have never had a spirit with my charm and wit." "Nor your modesty," he responded dryly. "Ouch! That is the second time you have wounded me, noble sir," I complained. "As recompense for my undeserved injuries at your hands, I'd like to pose questions to you that I might learn from your wisdom." The bearded sage appeared surprised. It's more usual that I pose the queries of visiting spirits, but this change may prove to be diverting. Please proceed. "So," I began, "every historian from my time wants to know why the quatrains." A quatrain is a four-lined poem, you might say. Nostradamus, if you've ever looked at his works, all of his predictions are in that form. Why not just write, "Hey guys, in 400 years, stuff's gonna get weird"? He chuckled. "If only it were so simple. You see, Rick, the church is very wary of unapproved prophecy." He leaned forward, voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "The quatrains are camouflage. A veil, a way to hide truths in poetic ambiguity, so they will pass through the censors without risking the questionable kindness of the Inquisition. Intolerance exists in every age, even in my 21st century," I added. He smiled grimly. "But more importantly," he continued, "prophecy does not arrive in the mind as a tidy paragraph. It comes as symbols, fragments, emotion, color. To write plainly would be a lie." "So you encoded visions in verse?" "Yes. Verse retains the rhythm of the astral. The rhyme preserves the pattern of what I saw." I gestured to the smoky chalice on his table. "And that's your famous scrying bowl?" He nodded. A mixture of spring water, herbal tinctures, and a polished obsidian mirror at the bottom. I would gaze until the mind detached from the senses. "So you went into a trance," I said. "Indeed," he said. "The visions arrive unbidden, out of order, and occasionally terrifying." That's gotta be very confusing. I'm glad I don't see things that way. I'm sure I wouldn't be able to report them anywhere near as poetically as he managed to do. He explained that he used 3 techniques. First up, hydromancy. That's gazing into water to receive visions. Oneiromancy, which is allowing your dreams to finish what the waking mind missed. And astral overlay. He would let future timelines superimpose over his room, like someone projecting multiple realities atop one another. Other times, the spirits of the future, like yourself, are summoned. It is exhausting, he admitted, and often painful. The mind is not meant to hold centuries of conflict in an hour. I have a theory that when I say that I blacked out, I think that's my physical memory. I think some of the things that I see, like say I'm flying from one or from planet Earth to another star. I just think there's so much data there that when it's downloaded to my physical brain can't handle it. So what it does is it registers when I get back to my body as a blank spot, a black spot. Anyway, that's my theory. Okay, this is a story that is a famous story with Nostradamus, and it was my favorite story whenever I read his works. I couldn't resist. Okay, so black pig or white pig? For those of you who haven't read Nostradamus, there was my favorite story, supposedly told by Nostradamus, about a nobleman he stayed with during one of his travels. During the tour, the noble sought to test Nostradamus and his prophetic ability. In the farmyard, there were two pigs, a black one and a white one. The noble asked Nostradamus which pig they would eat tonight. Nostradamus said the black one. As they moved on, the noble secretly ordered his cook to kill and serve the white pig. Later that night at dinner, the noble asked Nostradamus what pig they were eating. Nostradamus said, the black one. With a smug expression, the noble summoned the cook. Cook, he said, which pig are we feasting on? The servant appeared nervous. My apologies, your lordship, but the dogs stole the white pig I had prepared for you, so I was forced to cook the black one. He laughed, and the sound echoed oddly, as if the chamber itself remembered the joke. For the record, he said, the pig prophecy must be a legend. I never had such an encounter. So, no magical medieval bacon, I ask? None. I'm sure my disappointment was visible on my ectoplasmic face. That was really kind of my favorite story of his, so I was a little disappointed about that. But hey, at least he was honest, and didn't claim something. But that's the problem sometimes when you've got somebody who's that famous, is that sometimes years after he lived, people make up stories that make for good stories, like the black and white pig. And then people start attributing it that, oh, that was Nostradamus. And so these things carry on for centuries, and sometimes, obviously, they're not true. Okay, let's look forward now. As I said, I come from the New World across the Atlantic Ocean called America in the year 2025. I cleared my astral throat. What far-seeing wisdom can you share that I might bring back with me? He closed his eyes, and for a moment the air rippled. The chalice in front of him glowed faintly. Your century, he said slowly, is what I call the century of unmasking. Sounds fun. I love masks and Halloween and what have you. It is both terrible and necessary, he warned. Well, that brought me down. He raised a finger. Number one, the machines will awaken. Machines that think like men will rise. Humanity will see in these creations its own flaws multiplied. Sophocles 9 would be thrilled, I have no doubt. Number two, kings without crowns shall fall. Governments, corporations, institutions. Now, he didn't have these words. I'm translating now. He showed me images of things which he probably had no knowledge of, but he sent me the images. I translate them into things like corporations, for instance. So anyway, Corporations, governments, institutions built on illusion will crumble under their own contradictions. People will no longer tolerate the theater. That'd be interesting. Right now, those places, they pretty much rule us, even though they don't have crowns or a royal line. Number 3, the great migration of minds. He gestured toward me. More of your kind, spirit travelers, sensitives, awakened souls will appear. Not by accident, the veil is thinning. You know, the veil between worlds. Number 4, plagues of identity. Not disease of the body, but confusion of the self. People will forget what they are. They will cling to labels as drowning men cling to driftwood. That last prophecy is already coming to pass, I said. He didn't disagree. Number 5, the rebalancing of the earth. Climate, economy, geopolitics, all will shift violently before stabilizing. But humanity survives. That much I can tell. He gave me a final warning and maybe a little comfort too. He looked directly into my eyes, and for a moment I felt the weight of centuries in his stare. The greatest danger of your time is fear disguised as righteousness. People will destroy one another in the name of being correct. I immediately thought of the internet, which has devolved into a gladiatorial arena with two sides fighting to the death for their intellectual and emotional lives online. Then he placed his hand on the table, palm upward. But you must also know, humanity is not doomed. You stand in the middle of a storm, but storms pass. The 22nd century will be wiser than the 21st. Good to know, I said. However, the majority of those listening to this interview won't be there to witness it. Perhaps. But in one form or another, Rick, you will. That prophecy sent a shiver down my astral spine, I don't mind telling you. I need to ask one final question of the greatest seer who ever lived, the master of the future, summoner of the wisest spirits. His dark eyes, wizened beard, face that looked like he could look deeply into my soul. With a slight shake of his head, he murmured, "You carry too much sarcasm for someone seeking answers to the end of the world." "And that is the third time you have wounded me," I said. "Sarcasm is my spiritual gift. You now owe me one final question." "So," he said, "speak your question or your fear. They are usually the same." Isn't that interesting? I took an astral breath. No point dancing around. When does the human world end? He unfolded 3 fingers on his left hand and one from his right. "There are 3 ages that will be trials upon your time. There is a 4th and final trial for the human race, but that is even in your distant future. Number 1, the age of unmaking. When humans sever themselves from nature entirely, believing that they are above the world, not of it." "Check," I muttered. He nodded. "The age of mirrors. When humans fuse with their own creations, the machines, the networks, the reflection of their minds, some survive, some transcend, many vanish." Also, check. He lowered his last finger on the left hand. "The age of godlike power and renewal. I cannot see the ultimate end for humanity. My sight only extends to the end of the age." So I said, "Is there an actual date, a year, a quatrain, something with a calendar reminder?" Nostradamus, he chuckled, deeply, like he had waited for centuries for someone to ask it that directly. "There is a year, but an ending is only an ending if you believe it is." He lifted his hand. and a symbol flickered in the air, like smoke drawn backward into fire. I recognized the year instantly. I had seen it all before. 10,053. I glimpsed a futuristic ship suddenly appearing near Earth, carrying with it a force that burned the Earth. The vision soon dissolved. Is that the end? I asked quietly. No, he said. It is the threshold of transformation. It is a cataclysm that leads to a new age for humanity, a return to oneness with the earth. Humanity has experienced many of these ages, but has forgotten most of them. Later on, I thought that there was another prediction that he never told me. But then he said something towards the end. The torches began to dim. Nostradamus and his study faded like a watercolor left in the rain. I could feel that my time in this past was short. Merci, great prophet, I whispered. I said, was there not one prophecy that you did not share with me? He smiled and said, I will tell you that one on our next visit. He said, Rick, write your truth in your own way, just as I do. With those last words ringing in my astral mind, Nostradamus began to read Latin words from an old leather-bound book. I felt an irresistible pull banishing me from this room. After a moment of the usual blackness, I was back in my body, blinking at the ceiling, smelling astral dust and medieval ink. Another day, another very interesting interview. If you like that as much as I did, please hit the like button, share it with those of like minds, subscribe if you haven't already, and questions and comments. What would you have asked Nostradamus? What did you think about the prophecies that he shared with me? No matter what you think, at least it wasn't in those quatrains, so you didn't have to sit there and parse what he's talking about. But anyway, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.